Sousa Show. Sports.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. And that's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We'd love.
Tervis is all about staying hydrated with style and durability. You can trust Tervis tumblers to keep your drinks the perfect temperature, hot or cold, for hours. From the classic insulated tumblers to sleek stainless steel water bottles, each product is built to last and comes in endless designs to match your personality. Stay refreshed and express yourself with Tervis. Visit tervis.com today and find your perfect tumbler.
Since our founding, we've been revolutionizing hair removal with cutting-edge technology and a commitment to empowerment. The Ulike Air 3, launched in 2023, ushers in a new era of sapphire ice cooling technology, offering nearly painless hair reduction in just 3 weeks. Experience the future of hair removal today at ulike.com, because at Ulike, beauty is about looking and feeling good. That's ULIKE.com, Ulike. With EaseUS, make studio-quality voiceovers for your videos online in over 149 languages and dialects, featuring 468 natural AI voices. Customize the volume, mood, and pauses to perfectly match your content. Plus, capture high-quality videos with no watermark. Record your screen, webcam, and voice, and save them instantly to your computer. Never been easier to create professional-grade videos and voiceovers. Try it today at EaseUS.com. That's EaseUS.com. EaseUS.
Just use Ampace.
Ampace.
It is the Pete Sousa Show, and we are still on the road. The road trip that seems to never end, but boy, is it worth it. I'm here in Rochester, New York with Christy. We just dropped off Lex. We're actually not done dropping her off, but now we're to the emotional part. Christy was just seeing her at her dorm room, which was all set up yesterday. I was supposed to be able to do the show from the hotel today. As much as we love RIT for giving me this beautiful conference room where you can hear a little bit of music in the background, but hey, what are you going to do, right? They gave us this beautiful conference room, and we're doing the show here. Not exactly Mad Dog Russo going to Northern Arizona, where his son's an assistant basketball coach, and doing his show from there, which he did in the fall, but hey, we'll take it. We're getting close, right? But yeah, I was going to do the show from the hotel. Is Best Western in Rochester, and I asked the guy. I said, "Hey, can I have an extra hour to check out? Can I get a late checkout?" No, I mean it was like when no means no. Woo-hoo. It was a quick, firm no. So the accommodations were met here by the folks at RIT. So also, it just seems like a great school overall. Really pumped. Obviously, very good school. Everybody's so friendly and nice during this move-in. Very sad to see Lex go and, fly the coop. But hey, that's exactly what you want, right? And she seems super excited about being here. Okay, we have a lot to get to this morning. The Pete Sousa Show presented by Slovacics. Also, Daniel Stark Injury Lawyers, Crawford Austin Properties, First National Bank of Central Texas. We'll be back in studio tomorrow, taping inside the 12 in the morning. So the Pete Sousa Show will air at noon tomorrow, roughly around noon. We'll let you know on the details for that. We're talking college football today, all college football. I want to talk about athletes and what moves them as related to an interesting news story. We're going to start with that. And, of course, we're going to have to get into Joyner, Texas Tech's #1 running back, one of the 22 heralded transfers coming over to Texas Tech, getting injured. He is lost for the year. But the first topic I mentioned, and of course, I'm burying the lead. We got Brian Hanni from Kansas, the voice of the Jayhawks. And for my money, probably the best play-by-play guy. Is this getting louder, this music? You hear this one more time? Brings back some memories, right? Yeah, your boy used to get it in the club to this, which is, thank God that doesn't happen anymore. But I wanted to talk about a college football topic to start things off. Yeah, I think they just turned up the music. So yesterday I was going through Twitter like sometimes we all do. And our friend Mitt Winter, who is all over it when it comes to college sports, and the coverage of college sports and the business of college sports, right? And he retweeted something. And of course, then I retweeted it. But here is the exact tweet. Middle Tennessee's football team has eliminated alternate jerseys and helmets and saved almost $700,000, most of which will go towards paying team members. Now, Middle Tennessee State, obviously, we're not talking about Michigan State, right? But we are talking about the motivations of these young men who play college football starting to change. In the same breath, I was listening to a podcast last night. Our friends from Big 12 Today, James Wessling and Ari Temkin, they were doing a Houston preview, and I wanted to hear, obviously, as much as I can about Houston because I have their game next Thursday against Stephen F. Austin. And they were talking about Houston's new facility, a new practice facility that connects everything, right? Like the Nerve Center, obviously, is the football stadium, but then you have, where they practice, the inside practice bubble, you have the locker room. It's all connected. And from what I'm hearing, it's extremely palatial, right? I'll get to witness it firsthand next week. But it was either Ari or James, one of the hosts, and they were actually talking to a representative of Houston, someone from the Houston radio team. And they said, these facilities and this addition to the facility at Houston is just such a wonderful thing. But I know, and this was the quote, he said, I know it used to motivate kids, but really like, what does motivate these young guys today? And then it got me thinking, like, what a change. And this is life. This is the world. This is the evolution of everything. But like, things change. When I was a kid, all I wanted to do was get a scholarship and play big time college football. And then, of course, on the back end of that, I was thinking, maybe I can play in the NFL. But I was obsessed with just getting on the field and playing big time college football. A dream, by the way, that was not met. I got a scholarship to Richmond, went to play there. Heart problem, didn't play. You guys know the story, but they kept me with the school. And that was 1AA FCS level football, which I think that is the number one thing that we get out of it. Athletes and current athletes, I never expected the camaraderie to be really the number one thing that I would take from that. Being as somebody who didn't even play, but I was around the guys, around the locker room all the time. And you could say Pete Sousa, who held a clipboard and tried to help the coaches during his time at Richmond, or Sean Barber, who played 10, 12 years in the NFL after playing linebacker in Richmond. I think if we all get together with our teammates, right, the number one thing we miss is each other and that time in the locker room. Now that's deep, right? We're talking surface level right now, because when you're this young or that young, you really don't understand, right, what is moving you. And I wrote down just a couple things here. Like, these are questions. Like, what motivates today's college athlete, right? Scotty back in the studio in Waco has it up there on that bar atop the screen. So uniforms, right? We talked about that. Do you remember the uniforms? There was a time when uniforms and the changing of them. You had the Under Armour, you had the Nike, obviously with Phil Knight, the Under Armour at Maryland. These wacky, ugly uniforms, for the most part, in my opinion, really kind of grabbed young athletes, high schoolers particularly, got their attention. And I mean, there were kids during a time 10, 15 years ago that were going to schools because they liked, their fits or their gear. That is not even in the conversation anymore. Nobody cares. The alternate uniforms are great. And what Baylor is doing with the chrome helmets is amazing on Friday night. But that is not what moves athletes anymore. Facilities is another thing. As I look down the list I made, is it really about facilities now? I mean, because the stays are usually nowadays, and unfortunately, shorter, right? Some of the stays at these college programs happen to be 1 year, 2 year, right? So the facilities really don't have the lure or the grab that they once did. Unfortunately, that's the truth. We got, $190 million Fudge Center at Baylor. That obviously is a gem. Calling games there, I've gotten to see it. I called the first Baylor game last year, and I remember I was leaving like the giant movie theater, and I walked out of the room, and Dave Aranda's never said anything to me when he hasn't had to, right? As opposed like interviews for pregame and stuff. But I walked out of this magic theater, right, in the Fudge Center, and I bumped into Aranda, and he just looked at me. He goes, "It's cool, isn't it?" And I was like, "Yeah, dude, it's cool. It's really cool." And obviously, we're going to talk to Brian Hanni in a minute. What they're doing at Kansas, $300 million donation, a $450 million football facility. I mean, these are obviously still so important, but they don't have the pull and the grab that they once did, right? And so then you come to, and this is another thing that we experience, and being fortunate, being on the road, talking to coaches when you're calling a game. I'm not going to name any names, and coaches aren't like extremely derogatory about it, but sometimes they will flat out tell you, hey, I'm in charge of money and minutes, like that is a priority for these young guys now. So I just was thinking about that, and I wasn't the only one thinking it out loud. Again, I mentioned Mitt Winter tweeting about it. I mentioned Ari Temkin and James Westling talking about it on Inside the 12 or Inside the 12 today. And it just got me thinking, like, what really does motivate these guys anymore? Is it just, and obviously winning, being a part of something special, going to a bowl game, winning the college football playoff. The competitive fire is what is going to take you to the next level and great success. But you also have to factor in that there's so much at stake now financially that can behoove these guys and their families. That money, obviously, follow the money, right? Like this ain't deep throat situation here, but it is. It's follow the money. That's how it's always been. And playing time, another factor, but that's something that we'll circle back with. And maybe we'll have somebody on at some point in time who knows a lot more than me and really dissect that, because we are just in a changing universe. Another topic I want to talk about, Big 12 related, as we open the show. And I'm going to talk to Brian Hanni a little bit, the voice of the Jayhawks, because they got Fresno State coming to town on Saturday. I am so excited that it's actually here right now, right? But not excited are Texas Tech fans. Quentin Joyner, right, part of that heralded group of 22 transfers brought into Lubbock by Joey McGuire. Of course, an influx of, let's just say, money. Keep it simple, right? By Cody Campbell and other guys of his ilk in West Texas. You now have a situation at Texas Tech, which on the surface, I think it looks really rough right now. But, to avoid being a prisoner of the moment. By the way, I love Joey McGuire said yesterday, I don't love this at all, but he said, hey, it happened. It was a non-contact deal. That was the injury. It happened in a scrimmage over the weekend. But he said it on the What's Next podcast. And like only in 2025 can Joey McGuire be releasing information about a player being out for the season on the What's Next podcast produced by Texas Tech. You gotta love it, right? I'm here for it, but it's just a different day. But you expected Quentin Joyner to come in and replace the school's all-time leading rusher, Taj Brooks, and that's not going to happen now. And Baron Morton needs a running game to support his ability to throw the football. He's always been a quarterback of that nature. He can beat you with his feet, but he needs time. I mean, he dealt with injury towards the latter stages of last year. So this is a big injury for Texas Tech, but I don't think it's as bad right now. Like, it's not panic button time, right? You have Jacoby Williams, who was a true freshman last year, who exploded on the scene in that bowl game. I think it was the Liberty Bowl against Arkansas, had 140 yards and a 54-yard touchdown. And he's a guy, he literally is, one of the things that tells me so much about him is he was a slender guy as he was getting recruited and late into high school, and he has worked his ass off and is now, he's 5'10", 180, squats like 550 pounds, like just built, and it's all on account of his hard work. So right away, this is a guy who wants it, right? And is going to be competitive. Behind him, or maybe along with him, is Cam Dickey. He was a freshman last year. I think he accumulated about 7,500 yards all purpose in high school. I don't know much about him, but I know that he'll find himself in the mix now, obviously, with Quentin Joyner being down. And in the special teams game, punt returns and kickoff returns, that's Jacoby Williams' responsibility. But now with him being thrust into the number one spot, that could change. But again, big time reason for hope for Texas Tech, or I would feel very good about the fact that I've got an offensive line that brings in a new left tackle, Howard Sampson, also Davion Carter. Those two dudes, literally freaks in the best sense of the word, and they are actually on a list. The Athletic put out a list of college football freaks, and those two guys are on it, right? Two starters on that Tech offensive line, and they have 6 seniors on this offensive line unit, 3 of them projected to start. So I don't think obviously this is a huge kick in the nuts if you're a Texas Tech fan, but I don't think it's time to press the panic button. I think it is trust in Joey McGuire and the work that coaching staff has done recruiting and bringing talent to that roster all over. So that's it. We are, if you're just joining us, dropping the daughter off at school at Rochester Institute of Technology. Thank you, everybody here at Rochester at RIT, for giving us this beautiful conference room. We're going to step aside. We're coming back with the voice of the Jayhawks, Brian Hanni. We're going to talk about facilities. $450 million, I think, the new facility at Kansas, thanks in part to a $300 million donation. We're going to get into all of it. And also, I want to talk about Jalen Daniels and where the Jayhawks are going. The Pete Sousa Show, presented by Slovakics. Back after this quick break.
Dive into adventure with Scuba.com, your ultimate destination for top-tier scuba and snorkeling gear. With over 20 years of experience, our expert staff, who've dived everywhere from the Galapagos to the Maldives, provides personalized advice to help you find the perfect gear for any underwater journey. Shop leading brands like GoPro, Aqualung, and Scuba Pro. Whether you're a beginner or a pro, trust Scuba.com for the best in diving equipment and expert guidance. Explore now at Scuba.com. That's SCUBA.com. Scuba.com. At Fullwell, we bring together the expertise of registered dietitians, MDs, and OBGYNs to give you the best fertility support. Our research-backed bioavailable formulas are crafted with your health in mind, ensuring the highest quality and safety. From preconception to pregnancy and beyond, we exceed industry standards with independent testing for harmful contaminants. With our comprehensive practitioner directory, personalized care is always within reach. Fullwell, your trusted partner on your fertility journey. Visit us at fullwellfertility.com. Experience the perfect blend of exquisite craftsmanship and life-changing technology with Gevi. Every product is built with precision, featuring specialized parts that ensure durability, efficiency, and safety. We put every machine through 6,000 rigorous tests to guarantee long-lasting performance. With cutting-edge technology and a commitment to energy efficiency, Gevi makes your life easier, greener, and more convenient. Upgrade your everyday with Gevi. Visit us at gevi.com to discover more. That's gevi.com.
With San, owning iconic furniture no longer requires paying a premium. We use the finest materials like Italian top-grain leather, known for its durability and luxurious feel, and apply meticulous attention to detail in every piece we create. Our replicas are crafted with the same care and precision as the originals, but at a price that makes them accessible. With over 15,000 satisfied customers worldwide, we've proven that high-quality furniture doesn't have to come with a high price tag. Explore our collection today at sarn.com.
At Covers & All, we've revolutionized protective solutions with cutting-edge, customizable covers, tarps, and curtains. Using advanced tech fabrics that are 100% waterproof, UV tear, and abrasion-resistant, we ensure lasting durability with hand-sewn double-stitch seams. Our commitment to quality, precision engineering, and customizable options is unmatched. With vertically integrated operations and express shipping, we deliver premier protection at affordable prices. Visit coversandall.com today for the perfect fit, guaranteed to last.
At Open Goal USA, we're revolutionizing training for both soccer and lacrosse with our innovative portable rebounders. Perfect for players of all ages and skill levels, our rebounders improve accuracy, control, and technique in both sports. Built with premium materials for durability and ease of use, they're ideal for training anywhere, anytime. Whether you're perfecting your soccer game or sharpening your lacrosse skills, Open Goal USA has you covered. Visit OpenGoAAALUSA.com and elevate your training today.
Relax with Hemp Delicious. Organically grown hemp, massively blended with delicious organic herbs, responsibly sourced for their holistic benefits. Each sip offers calming, antioxidant-rich wellness. Brewed just for you. Sip the calm with Hemp Delicious. Find your blend at hempdelicious.com.
Introducing Muck-Off's classic pink bike cleaner, powered by revolutionary nanotechnology that breaks down dirt and grime on a microscopic level while protecting your bike's delicate finish. Developed by our mad developer Alex and tested by riders, our products are made by riders for riders. Discover more at us.muc-off.com, where we break the mold to bring you the best in bike care.
Get paid faster with Bill, the easiest way to send, receive, and manage your payments. No more delays, no more hassle. Whether you're a freelancer or a business, Bill makes payments seamless and secure, simple, fast, and reliable. Sign up today at Bill.com.
All right, the Pete Sousa Show. There he is, the voice of the Jayhawks, Brian Hanni. Brian, man, thank you so much for taking the time.
Of course, Pete. Thanks for the invitation. Great to be with you.
Dude, great to be with you, too. For my money, no lie, I told Scotty this, our producer, before the show started. I was like, for my money, best Big 12 play-by-play guy, Brian Hanni. Yeah, and I've told you that before in person. I love your work. You got Kevin Harlan out of Texas, and then you got Brian Hanni right there. But you do a tremendous job. So I'm pumped to talk to you.
You know, Kevin's actually a KU grad. He's kind of the gold standard around here. And so one of my mentors, that's high praise, my friend. We both had the same play-by-play coach back in the day, Tom Hedrick, who called the first Super Bowl. So that's a KU claim to fame between Kevin and I. But thank you, Pete. That means the world.
Oh, dude. It's again, I really appreciate you taking the time. And it looks like now, where are you right now? Are you in the illustrious like facilities now over there in Lawrence? Where are you?
I'm in one of the team film rooms, and this is a room that existed prior to the $448 million phase one. But I wanted to get to a quiet place for the conversation. I wish I could take you around and show you everything in the background, but they're practicing as we speak.
I'm looking forward to getting there and seeing it myself. But, you know, the brand new stadium, not brand new, reimagined, right? David Booth Memorial. What has been the reaction? I know last night, I think the first edition of Hawk Talk with Lance Leipold was taped either last night or the night before. You can fill me in on that. But what is Coach Leipold's reaction when he sees this, right? And he starts to understand, wow, this is a reality now. We're not talking about it anymore.
Yeah. Well, first off, I think to speak from the perspective of a Kansas lifer, I'm 45 years old. I knew nothing but the previous David Booth Kansas Memorial Stadium, a place that was 104 years old. And this is kind of surreal to step foot in it now. And yes, reimagined, transformed, those are the right terms, but it will eventually be brand new once phase two is completed. Right now you have the west side, the north side, the Anderson Family Football Complex has all been completely redone. And then in phase two, the east side, an entertainment district, hotel, additional parking, all that. So right now we use the terms like you used with the transformed and reimagined, but eventually brand new. And this place, state of the art, absolutely incredible. For me as a lifer, it's surreal to think, wow, we have something this nice at Kansas, a stadium that matches the same trajectory that Lance Leipold has this program on. I think to answer your question about Lance, when he steps foot and he looks around, he thinks, you know what, this Travis Goff guy that hired me, he's making good on his promises. Because think about it, this is year 5 we're starting up. And in the first 4 years, Leipold's delivered 2 bowl appearances, nearly a third, which would have been the first time in program history to go to back-to-back bowl games. They came up just 1 win shy of that a year ago. So Leipold has certainly held up his end of the bargain. His on-field success is what's gotten the donors on board to fund projects like this. But as the head coach, he's got to feel like, man, I've got the support of my chancellor and my AD. Everything they promised and then some right now, they're making good on. And we've got this brick and mortar tangible proof of how serious the University of Kansas is taking football.
Hey, Brian, that is a really good point you make. And just like, let me kind of follow up on that. You know, you mentioned Lance Leipold kind of instills confidence in these donors to make something like this happen, because it was, you know, you mentioned the early success, right, in his tenure. I mean, how far does that go?
And, absolutely. I think the fan base and the donor base really got on board in year 1 when they went down to Austin, Texas, and took down the Longhorns. You know, a huge win for Kansas, generational victory to win down there in Austin. They realized at that point, okay, this guy has something special brewing. But then the following season, to go to a bowl game for the first time since the Mark Mangino era, you know, at that point, we hadn't been bowling in 14 years. And then to back it up with a second consecutive bowl appearance the following year and really feel like you had a full head of steam, you realized, okay, now we clearly made the right hire at coach. We clearly have a groundswell of momentum with player recruitment, player development, all that. We got to keep this guy first and foremost, and then we need to surround him with the type of facilities and also, you know, in the NIL era, the funds and resources to keep these players coming. And that's exactly what the donor base has been able to do with Travis Goff's leadership and then Lance Leipold's tangible success on the field. I'll tell you what, the culture here is truly next level. And I've worked at multiple schools. I've worked for multiple KU football coaches. That's well documented. The culture that Lance Leipold and then Matt Gildersleeve, who, yes, he's the strength and conditioning coach by title, but he's so much more than that. He's a culture coach. It's just been amazing to see the buy-in of these guys. And it started day 1, year 1, when they put up an 80-inch flat screen right in front of the locker room that charted the first 5 guys into the practice facility and the last 5 guys. And the first on the field, the last to leave the field. And that's something small, but it set the tone for what's expected of these guys. And when you look at some of the GPS tracking they do on player explosiveness, player effort, improved speed, all that, the individual athletic body gains that these guys have made is simply remarkable, but it starts with that mindset that Leipold and Gildersleeve have instilled in these guys, and it's really a contagious, infectious culture that you want to be a part of. And what's neat is, in this era of so many transfers, you get guys coming in from other Big 12 programs or other major conference programs, and they're blown away, not just with how nice these $450 million facilities are, but the level of expectation, the level of buy-in, the level of want to that every man is held to that walks through those doors. And you may not have expected that at Kansas based on how the previous decade went, but that's certainly the expectation and the culture now.
I love it, dude. And I love the accountability. And I love also, you know, you can make it happen at Kansas. Glenn Mason did it. Mark Mangino did it, you know, and now we see Coach Leipold doing it. You know, by the way, I have to tell this story. So when I was my entree into play-by-play, I did play-by-play in like the NBA D-League, right? But I also did spotting for a while. So that Saturday night in Austin, I was working for Roy Philpott. I was spotting for him. And it's late in the game, and I see this freaking 46 or keeps appearing on the field. I'm pretty sure it was 46. And I'm looking at the board, and I don't like to go right. As you know, as a play-by-play guy, you don't like the spotter just writing stuff on your board. I mean, I'm kind of laid back. I don't care. But some guys, I've done it before, and guys get pissed, you know, as a spotter. I don't spot anymore. I used to, but I know what a good spotter looks like, and it's a big deal. So anyways, I don't want to overstep, but I'm like, screw it, dude. Like, this is down the stretch now. So, and you can tell me the guy's name. 46, I write on Roy's board. 46 is?
Jared Casey.
So I write Jared Casey, and wouldn't you know, it was a 2-point conversion, right?
Maybe the biggest catch in Kansas history. You hate to say that for a regular season game, but again, that was the monumental upset.
Yeah.
The belief in the buy-in factor across the board. I think he was wearing 47 at the time.
Yeah,
Not to correct. I'm amazed at your memory, as many teams as you cover and games as you work, that you could recall that from 4 years ago. But the mighty Casey, as we called him, had the most momentous catch, arguably in KU football history, on a 2-point conversion to win by 1 in a high 50s overtime shootout in Austin.
Yes. I was like, hey, Bri. I was so pumped. I was like, that's the guy I wrote down. And Roy, if you ever bump into Roy, it's one of his favorite stories. I've heard him tell it on, Sirius Radio. It was, and it's kind of, I've been doing it for long enough. You kind of figure out the rhythms, right? But I've certainly screwed up too when I was spotting. But let's get back to Kansas. I want to talk about the team. 5-7 last year, right? Preseason top 25, 22nd in the country. Jalen Daniels was preseason Big 12 Player of the Year. Clearly, it's there for the Jayhawks, right? What is the expectation this year on the field for this team?
I think it's still very high, despite a year that obviously came up short of what we were all hoping. I think a big part of that was Daniels, you might recall, had missed about 75% of the previous season. You had a new offensive coordinator a year ago. And over the first half of the year, it just took a while to settle in. And Kansas had some speed bumps along the way and a couple of losses they didn't expect to have, including UNLV at home. They were in position to win at Illinois, lost that one. Next thing you know, they get to the midway point of the season, and they're not at all where they thought they would be. And it was really gut check time for Kansas. What they were able to do down the stretch, though, was so impressive, with 3 consecutive top 25 upsets, including knocking off a previously undefeated BYU team on a late Saturday night in Provo. So that was huge. And as I said, they came up 1 win shy of a 3rd consecutive season of being bowl eligible. But it showed us that the team we thought they could be throughout the season was still in there. They just stumbled out the gates. This year, with Daniels having, without a doubt, the greatest offseason, most dialed in, locked in, striving for excellence offseason he's ever had, I think you should expect a much faster start out of Kansas, not only because of his mindset, but his OC this year is the quarterback's coach he's had for the last 5 years, Jim Zabrowski. The rapport, the chemistry, the trust between those two is as good and long tenured and seasoned as any OC to QB relationship could possibly be. That can't help but make for an ideal and optimal start for Jalen Daniels. And then you add in, I think, the best vertical downfield threat he's had in his entire collegiate career in Emmanuel Henderson from Alabama. This kid can flat out fly. They're clocking him at 23 miles an hour. And I don't know what that means, but as a play-by-play guy, it means he's going to get open deep downfield. 50-yard touchdowns that we're excited to call. Yes, he lost some of his most trusted targets, and you saw 2 of them make highlights on Saturday night in the NFL with Luke Grimm on a 66-yard punt return for the Chargers, and Quentin Skinner with an unbelievable juggling catch for the Jets. Tough to replace those guys, but I think they've got just as much, if not more, speed and some tried and true hands as well, with other transfers like Cam Pickett, Levi Wentz mixing in as well. So it's still a very talented group. Devin Neal's now with the New Orleans Saints, the most decorated running back this side of Gale Sayers in KU football history. And yet they brought in Leshawn Williams from Iowa. And this is Daniel Highshaw's 5th-year senior year, a chance to really break out. So I think the offense is in good hands. I really do, even with 2 offensive linemen off to the NFL as well. Defensively, we saw DK McDonald get the promotion to DC after Brian Borland retired. And let me tell you, they've got some high-impact, immediate dividends paid type additions on this defense. Justice Finkley up front from Texas already has been voted a captain. He's been here for a handful of months, and he's got the C on his chest. What's that tell you? Bengali Kamara in the linebacking core, I think, will be an all Big 12 linebacker. And then Leroy Harris is a guy that every coach from Leipold all the way through all the defensive coaches have singled out on the defensive line at defensive end, a transfer from Chattanooga. His dad played 7 years in the NFL. He's still kind of finding his body and growing into who he's going to be now with Matt Gildersleeve getting the most out of him physically. But this guy has a chance to be an absolute beast. So I think you're going to see Kansas with more pressure off the edge than we've seen in any season since Mangino's Orange Bowl campaign in 07-08. I think there are concerns, obviously, when you lose Kobe Bryant and Mello Dotson in the secondary, but they've got some guys in Alexander and really a complement of players back there that are redshirt freshmen or sophomores that they've had grown up through the system. Jalen Todd being another that was a 4-star recruit that I think make you just as talented, just not as experienced, but give them every bit a chance to be every bit as good as those previous two guys I mentioned. So a lot of excitement really in all three phases. And obviously the fan expectations are right back where they were this time a year ago, even though last season didn't quite finish up as high as we thought it would.
Great intel. A couple more questions before we let you out of here. You mentioned, well, first of all, the schedule I think sets up pretty well for Kansas. I mean, you've got Texas Tech at home. You have Utah at home. Obviously the Missouri date early, right? That's very exciting, especially in that neck of the woods. But the stadium in itself, last year, it was almost transient, right? Like you played at Arrowhead sometimes. I guess it was maybe where the soccer stadium,
Children's Mercy Park, MLS.
Yeah, and so was that. I mean, clearly, it's about accountability at Kansas. Like they're not going to make any excuses. Coach Leipold's not making any excuses. But for me, it's understandable that may have affected the team a little bit last year early on when you're struggling, as opposed to this year now where you have a real strong foothold in one of the most beautiful facilities in the country.
Yeah, I love the way you phrase that because nobody around here is going to use that as an excuse. But yes, was that a factor to some degree? Absolutely. It's not a quantifiable thing where I can tell you, oh, that cost us 1.5 wins. But yeah, does the UNLV game early in the season maybe go the other way if you have the comfy confines and familiarity of your normal routine, your normal home field, all that? Tough to say. But I think at some point along the way that there was, an inconvenience and a out of normal routine factor that probably contributed to maybe one fewer win. But they're not going to sit here and look in the rearview mirror. They're going to look to the future. But I think it's a great question to ask because now that you are home and you've got this state-of-the-art facility and the best locker rooms these kids have ever seen in their lives, and you're not busing into Kansas City for your home games and all these things, it does give you more rhythm, routine, and continuity and consistency that I think helps this club. So great question, very apropos. And that's one of those that Lance would never ever make an excuse of, but it's certainly in the back of his mind. And I think it was a real factor.
Okay, you've got Jayhawk in your DNA, right? And this is your 10th season calling these games. What are you, and this is the last question, what are you most excited for as far as this season is concerned?
Well, I think opening night, obviously coming up 5:30 on Saturday versus Fresno State, just to see the booth packed, more than 40,000 strong, to see the players come running out that tunnel, to see what we think is one of the most beautiful backdrops in all of collegiate athletics when it talks about the University of Kansas campus, but then to hear that crowd roar in a venue now that will actually trap in the sound and it'll reverberate back down onto the field. And they were testing out the speakers the other day and you could hear it 5 blocks away, downtown.
A sonic boom.
I think the atmosphere and the energy is going to be electric, and I think our guys are going to feed off of that. And so, yeah, I could answer that question, Pete, by saying week 3 versus Mizzou. That's what a real Jayhawk would say that knows the history. I could say maybe it's our chance to beat K-State for the first time in a decade and a half. We get them at home this year. We've come so close the last couple of years. All these things down the line certainly could trump the feeling on opening night. But when you've got a stadium that was so many decades in the making, and there were previous ADs that tried to get this done and couldn't because the team's success on the field waned and the dollars went away, now it all came together. The perfect symmetry and alignment of Chancellor, AD, and coach and on-field success. I think the culmination of all of that and what we expect the energy and atmosphere to be like on Saturday night, that's a night I'll remember for the rest of my life, rest of my career, all that. So opening night's going to be special. But here's hoping it's a year that not only breaks in the new stadium with some amazing home wins, but you have a chance to beat both your rivals, get back in the bowl picture, and keep that upward ascension heading the way it is. Because let me tell you, not just with this new stadium, but with a $300 million pledge from David Booth, what many believe could be the greatest gift in college athletics history, Kansas football is not just making a splash in the water. They're building the type of continuity and consistency in coaching, in player development, in resources to keep this thing trending upward for the indefinite future. And that's obviously really, really exciting. We've had that for 100 years in hoops. It'd be great to get that kind of continuity in football as well.
Looking forward to seeing how high the Jayhawks can fly this year. Brian Hanni, thank you so much. We will come on. We got to talk later in the year, right? I appreciate it. This is great. Yeah.
Absolutely, Pete. Thanks so much for having me on. Always a pleasure.
You got it, buddy. Good luck on Saturday, man. Rock chalk, brother.
Rock chalk. Thanks a lot.
All right, see you. That was Brian Hanni, man. Again, that was not BS. And I've said this, I think maybe on the show before, but of course you got to say it in front of him if it's the truth. For my money, best play-by-play guy in the Big 12. And you guys, by the way, are the best audience in the world for sticking with me here on location as people now are trickling back into the dining hall at Rochester Institute of Technology, where we have just done a live show. I love it, baby. Swingler. All right. What's up?
Did you see the breaking news, Pete?
Oh, is it Bear? Is that true, Bear Bachmeier?
Pete Thamel, BYU is naming true freshman Bear Bachmeier as the team's starting quarterback. His debut will come August 30th against Portland State, and he will wear number 47.
Okay, so this is the last one thing I'll say about this, okay? My expectations and excitement level for BYU literally now are limitless. You have the kid is straight out of Central Casting as far as look, measurables, skill level, and
little short there, Pete.
Smarts, right? Literally, we had Jay Catch on here last week telling us he's basically brilliant. Yeah, man, I think it's a great. The fact that Kalani Sitake, right, and Aaron Roderick at BYU, the fact that they feel moved to name a true freshman starting quarterback says to me he's good enough. And he showed them he can do it, which means he may have everything that we talk about him having. Right?
He might have the juice, Pete.
You got the juice. All right, we're back in the studio tomorrow. Scotty, I appreciate the breaking news. One more
plug.
Yeah.
Come back at 1 o'clock to YouTube. Find the brand new, launching today, Matt Mosley Show on YouTube, featuring your boy right here. And today, to open the whole show, launched on Rogue Media, we've got the greatest basketball coach in the United States of America, Scott Drew, joining us today on the Matt Mosley Show. Come by.
Go make sure you check that out. 1 to 3 every day on YouTube. Does he have his own channel? Scotty will tell you more about that. Does he have his own channel, Scotty?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's all.
Yeah. The Matt Mosley Show. It's very easy. Just the Matt Mosley Show. It is his own channel on YouTube. Come hang out. We'll have Coach Drew today.
We will see you back in the studio in Central Texas tomorrow. Thank you guys for really watching and hanging in. And, it means a lot. We're at like 83,000 subscribers almost. And, this time last year we were at. So thanks to guys like Brian Hanni for taking the time to join us. And thanks to Scotty and Corey Dickman at Rogue Media and Mike Hamilton for making this happen. And, of course, Slovaceks and Socorro Family Ford. We're going to keep it rolling, man. And if we got to do shows in airports and university dining halls for the rest of our lives, that's what we'll do. Hopefully we won't have to, though. We'll see you tomorrow.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports.
We love.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at 70 miles an hour. I was injured, had a concussion. The insurance company, they delayed. They were playing games from the initial conversation. They weren't going to help me. The biggest thing I learned through this is that you can't go through this alone. I called Daniel Stark. They were going to help me, and everything was going to be all right. Daniel Stark got me 10 times the insurance company offered.
The difference is stark.
We are Rogue Media Sports.